Welcome to the Great Basin Prescribed Fire and Smoke Transport Briefing for Monday, February 6th. Over the last 7 to 14 days, we've definitely seen a shift in precipitation across the Great Basin, seeing much drier conditions across most, if not all, areas. The only areas that saw some decent precipitation have been in the Sierra, but even that has been generally less than normal, and also up into parts of Idaho. Only eastern Idaho has seen above normal precipitation over the last 14 days. Our last snowfall over the last 72 hours, again, we did have some good snowfall in the Sierra with a lighter dusting of snow across Nevada, and then still some new snow into Idaho, western Wyoming, and northern Utah. The snow depth is indicated on the right, and you can still see, even with the drier conditions over the last couple of weeks, our snowpack still remains well above normal across generally all areas of the Great Basin, with the exception of parts of central Idaho and Wyoming, which is still near normal. The satellite loop from this morning shows the most recent storm system moving through the eastern side of the Great Basin with some snow showers this morning still ongoing. Otherwise, a ridge of high pressure will build into the western side of the Great Basin today and tomorrow. So for later today, that system continues to push eastward with the snowfall in Idaho and Utah tapering off today. Fire potential obviously still remains low with the snow on the ground, the snowpack, and the colder temperatures. Transport winds as the system exits will be breezy over the southern half and eastern half of the Great Basin, with moderate to high mixing heights in the far south and generally lower further north and west. Relative humidity will only drop below 20% in the far south, otherwise be above 30 or 40%. Dispersion will obviously still remain good over the southern half of the Great Basin with those gusty northerly winds as this system exits to our east. As we move into Tuesday, this storm system moves into New Mexico and Texas, and we do have a ridge of high pressure moving over the Great Basin with a quick moving weak upper disturbance moving into Idaho. So we will still have low fire potential region-wide. We will start to see the transport winds really drop off over central areas of the Great Basin and remain somewhat breezy, especially in the higher terrain further south and up north into Idaho as that weak shortwave moves into the northern side of the Great Basin. So mixing heights will remain very low over central areas. And also dispersion obviously quite poor across the region as these winds taper off, with the exception of areas in the far north and the far south. Relative humidity, again, still only driest in the far southern areas of Nevada. As we move into Wednesday, this system that moves into Idaho on Tuesday quickly moves east into the Rockies with another ridge of high pressure moving in for the Great Basin and continued low fire potential. Transport winds will generally remain light to moderate, will be a little bit gustier over parts of the higher terrain of Wyoming and down into northern and central Utah. Mixing heights will remain higher in the far east and lower as you move further west. And very similar picture with relative humidity, only below 20% in the far south. And then dispersion really tapers off with the exception of where those winds will stay gustier in the higher terrain of Utah and up into Wyoming and parts of Idaho. Temperatures will be warming this week, especially over western areas of the Great Basin, where we will see 5 to 10 degrees of warming. Areas further east will still be trapped either under inversions or with storm systems moving through, so very little change in temperature over the eastern half of the Great Basin. The forecast clearing index for Utah with the stronger winds today over southern and central Utah, we will see higher clearing indices and much lower to the north. Then winds taper off on Tuesday, dropping clearing indices significantly, and then pick back up again on Wednesday. The forecast amount of precipitation, you can see only generally light amounts overall for Idaho, Wyoming, and parts of northern Utah over the next few days, including what we'll see today. Then as we move into Thursday, we have a better ridge of high pressure building in across the Great Basin, so we will see those stronger inversions set up in most areas with lighter winds. And fire potential will remain low through the extended period as well. Moving into Friday, that ridge gets pushed off to the east as another trough of low pressure moves into California and the Pacific Northwest. This will increase cloud cover again over northern areas of the Great Basin and start bringing some light precipitation. Then as we move into Saturday, this system continues to push east and south, so we will see that precipitation move over the eastern half of the region. And then by Sunday, most of the precipitation will exit off to the east with a replacement of northerly winds and a ridge of high pressure. So overall, precipitation for Friday through Saturday night will be generally very light with the system moving through. And then again, going into the extended for Sunday through Tuesday, we will see again just a spattering of very light precipitation. So for the 7-day period, again, comparable to what we saw in December and January, a very light precipitation region-wide. The 8 to 14-day outlook, taking us from February 13th through the 19th, shows still cooler than normal temperatures across much of the region and above normal precipitation. So we will see again a return of storm systems moving through by the middle of the month. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back on Wednesday for the latest updates.